couple very much in love. You clearly understand what love means. What is it that you both love about each other?
Yeah, where do we start? Well, obviously, we both have a great fun time together. We both have a very good sense of humour about things. We down to earth, take the mickey out of each other a lot. And she's got plenty of habits that make me laugh that I tease her about.
William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales.
When William asked Kate to marry him, he made it very clear that she wouldn't have to leave her family behind her once she married into his family. He promised her that they'd always stay a part of the family.
Well, all of the same, but you know, I'm sort of over the years, William's really looked after me. He's treated me sort of very well as a great sort of loving boyfriend he is. But you know, he's very, very supportive of me in good times and also through the bad times, and you know, that's very special to me.
When you're looking at what William and Kate have in common as a couple, is the fact that they're just really quite well-grounded and sensible. They both know exactly what they want, and I think there's a real strong element of trust. They've been through a hell of a lot.
Over the years, the couple have maintained a relationship that went far beyond the physical. They stood by each other during difficult university times, bonded over laughs and giggles, and inevitably grew their friendship from a foundation of trust and mutual respect.
Their relationship grew out of cold winter nights spent in a university digs, having spaghetti bolognese and talking about anything other than being a prince or princess.
Get ready for move number one, so your right arm back, like that. So, number one.
To make it as comfortable and
number two.
Welcoming as it can
And then number three.
They have become one of the world's most famous and loved couples, and have proven to be diligent, hard-working and constant, always thinking of their people. Now, in line to be king and queen, let's go back to the very beginning. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born on the 9th of January 1982 in Reading, Berkshire. She grew up in what was considered to be a perfect family environment, alongside her brother, James, and her sister, Pippa.
Her father, who was a pilot and worked for British Airways with the rank of captain, and her mother, who was a flight attendant. Growing up in Southall, which is not a salubrious suburb, where it's more or less like living under the flight path at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. She could look up when she was a child and see the big glamorous airplanes landing. And she thought to herself, I'm going to be a flight attendant. And she ended up as a flight attendant, and she ended up meeting a pilot, and she ended up marrying him. And there's definitely ambition in the family of the best sort, a bootstrap operation. But they were not poor, they never were. He was always on a pilot's salary. But they set out to make their own company. Party pieces, they saw a niche in the market. And what they did is what good parents have always done. They've invested in education. It cost them a lot of money. They sent all of their 3 children to good schools. In the case of Kate, to Marlborough School, which is one of the top public schools, which means private in British terms, schools, where she did quite well. And I think she had one of those childhoods where there was a lot of happiness, there was a lot of family feeling. And I think that that is what attracted William to her.
She was quite an ordinary girl by all accounts. She lived a quite idyllic life. Her family got on very well. It was all very harmonious. And it was almost like she brought something new to the table for William. And so he found a bit of solace in the fact that she had such a tightly knit family. He really enjoyed going to visit her parents at weekends, and I think that probably gave him something that he didn't have from his own family.
Kate is said to have an extremely happy and normal upbringing, but Prince William's childhood was anything but. William Arthur Philip Louis was the first child of Charles and Diana, who was born at St Mary's Hospital, London, on the 21st of June 1982. His arrival triggered front-page headlines around the world, and a future King of England was soon presented to an adoring public. William's brother, Harry, was born on the 15th of September 1984.
I remember saying to Princess Diana on one occasion when her son was getting taller and taller, I said, "You've bred some height into the royal family." And she said, "Yes, and good looks, and good looks." And what she was talking about was the introduction of her family, the Spencers, into a very tight royal gene pool. And the result was 2 good-looking sons. By widening that gene pool to the Middleton family, who could not be more down to earth, you're going to have, first of all, a handsome couple who, with luck, will produce attractive children and who will be then the darlings of the newspapers and be feted around the world.
William was just 15 years old, and his brother Harry only 12, when their mother was tragically killed in a car accident in Paris. There was worldwide sympathy for the 2 brothers, as their grief was played out so publicly in the media spotlight. Years down the line, the couple work on giving their own children a sense of a normal, happy childhood. And part of this stems from the root of the fact that Kate's mother, Carol Middleton, has always wanted the best for her children and for her grandchildren to be raised in a stable environment.
She's done that remarkably with William's family as well. She is, I think, far more hands-on with the Cambridges than most people realise. When you look at the birth of Prince George, it was unprecedented for a future king to be raised not in a palace, but a regular house. And not just that, but by the grandparents who weren't his paternal grandparents. They weren't royal grandparents, they were Kate's parents. And I think what she's brought to William and Kate is a lack of tradition, if you want, the formality that you expect with the royals, the nursery being the domain of the nanny and governesses, and the children are kept away from the adults. That's not the case at Kensington Palace. At Apartment 1A, the children are very much a part of William and Kate's life, and I think that's a reflection of Kate's own childhood. And I think it's what Diana would have absolutely wanted. It was what she wanted for William and Harry, and Diana really broke the mould. When it came to parenting, she did things differently. With Charles, he should take credit for that too. But I think what you've seen with William and Kate is they've taken it to a different level, and they've done that very much with the help of Mrs. Middleton.
Kate Middleton's school life at Marlborough got off to a tough start, as she was bullied on a regular basis. But Kate's strength of character shone through, as she started to develop a more confident personality and ultimately became more popular amongst her peers.
And when she got there, she wasn't particularly popular at the beginning. The boys apparently, in the refectory, in the dining hall, as the young girls would come in, they would hold up their paper napkins with scores on for the girls, saying whether they were attractive or they were not attractive. And when she first arrived, rather thin, rather nervous, rather timorous, they held up 1 or 0 or 2. Not very nice for a young girl, but she didn't complain, she didn't cry, she didn't ask to be taken out of the school. She got on with it and she became successful. and by dint of applying herself, became popular. It wasn't given to her on a plate. And as she filled out a little bit, and she got some colour in her cheeks, and she became more assured, the attraction grew, and she was a very popular person.
The Kate Middleton that we see now is very different from a very shy, quite asthmatic schoolgirl who frankly wasn't sort of everyone's best friend. She wasn't the girl that everyone wanted to necessarily be seen with.
Prince William was in line to the throne, and for that reason was sent to a very high, prestigious school in order to prepare him for his destiny. Eton College, close to Windsor Castle, his grandmother's favourite home.
Eton College is probably the leading public school in England, and it's very traditional. William's mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, insisted that he went to Eton, as did her father and her younger brother Charles. Prince Charles acceded to this. He went to Gordonston, where he was thoroughly miserable and cried almost every time he had to go back to school, even as a teenager. And he allowed his sons both to go to a very elitist school. It's very elite, it's very expensive, it's very posh, if you will, but it also has a degree of freedom for the pupils. They are encouraged to be self-confident and to find themselves. Eton was right for William. He enjoyed the sports. He enjoyed swimming, water polo. He loved playing football, soccer. And he did well, and he did well enough to get not a place at Oxbridge, which could have been fixed for him, but he was sufficient of his own man to say, no, I want to go to Scotland, I like Scotland. He chose St Andrews University, a very ancient university in the Kingdom of Fife, and so, by chance, did Kate Middleton.
Prince William's university life did not get off to the greatest start, and he considered dropping out after only the first year, but he persevered. Initially, Prince William and Kate were just friends, but the prince's perception changed after Kate took a confident stroll along a catwalk at a charity fashion show. She wore a sheer dress that sparked controversy in later years, but it was in this very moment that William took the initiative, and their relationship moved to the next level.
Does it occur to you that it's somewhat inappropriate for a future Queen of England to have been photographed in?
It does, but back then I'm sure she had her reasons for wearing it. We still don't know whether she was put in it or if she chose to wear it, which I like to think she chose to put it on because she thought it might be a bit of a showstopper. It's a part of history now.
Legend has it that that's what finally nailed William and made him decide that he was a young girl worth some more attention.
One thing that most definitely helped William and Kate's relationship to blossom naturally was the decision made by the British tabloids, perhaps as a result of Diana's tragic death, to give William and Harry complete privacy during their further education and allowing them as near a normal life as possible.
They would spend time walking in the park, not fearing a photographer in a hedge. And while pictures were taken, newspapers agreed under this special agreement that was made after Diana's death not to actually publish those pictures. So there was no market. You cannot underestimate how important that has been in their relationship.
Having lived in Hall, they were then bold enough with two friends, another boy and girl, to actually take a farmhouse outside the small town of St Andrews, where they lived in this sort of little menage, this family-type relationship for a couple of years. And obviously they got to know each other quite well, probably very well, at this time. And I think this is where the bedrock of their relationship was established.
Kate Middleton's relationship with Prince William was first revealed to the British public when William decided to take her on a family skiing trip to to Klosters in Switzerland, a favourite haunt of his father's for skiing holidays.
So, Prince William, romance clearly in the air here. Could there be another wedding perhaps on the card sometime soon?
No, I don't think so.
William and Kate both graduated in 2005, with William achieving a Scottish Master of Arts degree with upper seconds class honours. The news made the front pages around the world. William and Kate began to explore what their lives would be like following university. Prince William's career and his life of duty had been planned ahead, but for Kate, it was no easy task. She joined the English retail chain, Jigsaw, but she was distracted, and her focus of attention was quickly pulled away from her professional commitments to the young prince. Following the British royal family's tradition of military training and connection, William undertook his basic army training and later graduated from the prestigious Royal Military Academy Sandhurst for officers. The next chapter in the royal love story was a shock to the British public, with the news that William and Kate had split up in April 2007.
I think everybody assumed that Prince William and Kate Middleton were going to get married. They were going to stay together forever. They'd been together for a substantial amount of time. And then when they split, it made you realise just actually they are human beings. They're going through a very public breakup. There was pictures of Prince William cavorting about with some girl in Bournemouth near Bovington where he was in the army. And you just thought, Kate Middleton must hate this. And she's got to remain dignified throughout. I don't think then anyone expected them to actually get back together because you thought they'd split up for a reason. So when they did get back together, you knew that it was serious stuff.
He certainly thought it was over. He went around saying, well, I'm free. And she said to her friends, it's all over with William. But it's interesting that he then realised, and it must have been him, that he was not going to do better than Kate Middleton, and he rebuilt the bridges between them because it was not something she could do. She had been dumped, essentially. And he then came back to her, and I think she said in an interview, you learn a lot about yourself. And she had endured it, and it was fairly public, it was known about, but she didn't complain. She didn't run off to the tabloids. She didn't start speaking to her friends knowing that they would be interviewed and their stories would appear. She was very discreet. She was very modest in the true sense of the word, which you don't find very often these days. And in a way, you can say it paid off because she bagged the big one.
After only a short time, the royal romance was back on track, and the couple put the short break behind them and started looking to their future together. With the media now speculating that Kate would eventually marry into the royal family, they started making the inevitable comparisons between Kate and Princess Diana.
Kate, whether she likes it or not, is going to be compared to Diana in terms of being a fashion icon. I don't think she has got quite the same flair for experimenting as Diana possibly did, but there's no doubt, you know, she's marrying the heir to the throne, so there's all sorts of designers who are going to be desperate for her to be wearing their clothes.
I think William will try and do everything he can to make sure that there are no similarities. What we saw with Princess Diana when she married Prince Charles, she just suddenly was thrust into the global sort of spotlight, became one of the most recognised people on the planet. Now, I think that probably is a destiny that awaits Kate, but William's very keen that it will be done on her terms. There are similarities between Kate Middleton and Diana. I mean, the most fundamental one being that they've both chosen to opt into one of the most wacky families in Britain. Being a royal, getting into the goldfish bowl that is the household, my goodness, you'd have to really love the person that asked you to get in there with them.
In 2010, came the news that the British public had been waiting for. Prince William had proposed to Kate Middleton during a trip to Kenya, and she had accepted.
Ian Craig's plane touches down in Lewa, the romantic hideaway Prince William chose to make his proposal. Acutely aware of William's desire for privacy, family friend Craig played host to the couple when they wanted to come to Kenya.
If Kate didn't see William's question coming, then I would question her entire... I don't know what planet she's been living on. I mean, frankly, everybody was waiting for the moment. I recently found out through the palace staff that they were convinced that this was the holiday where William was finally going to pop the question. They were all on standby to announce when they got back.
The news of their engagement was met with enormous joy by the royal family.
It's the most brilliant news, and I'm just so happy for both of them. They are so happy, and it's wicked.
So maybe we just ask your reaction to the wedding, please, sir?
Obviously thrilled, thank you very much. Practicing for long enough.
As you know, Catherine and Prince William have been going out together for quite a number of years, which is great for us because we've got to know William really well. We all think he's wonderful, and we're extremely fond of him. They make a lovely couple. They're great fun to be with, and we've had a lot of laughs together. We wish them every happiness for the future.
One delightful aspect of the engagement was that Prince William gave Kate the ring his mother had been given by Prince Charles at the time of their engagement.
And I think it was very telling that he chose to give Kate Middleton his mother's engagement ring. And he said, I want my mother to be part of this, to be present. Not in a sinister way, of course not the ghost at the feast, but there to enjoy the celebrations and the fun of it all, of a great occasion. And I think people are very well aware of the background, and they certainly have a great deal of sympathy, and they're almost willing them to be happy, because he particularly has had difficulties in his life, but he's come through them, and because of his mother's influence on the upbringing, which she made as normal as possible, I think he's grown up in an extraordinarily down-to-earth manner.
Prince William will rarely ever talk about his mother publicly. He will very, very rarely do anything to kind of draw comparisons with him and his mother. And certainly he hates the thought that Kate might be seen as the new Princess Diana. But his decision to give her his mother's engagement ring, I thought, was very significant, because it sort of showed that William wanted his mother on his big day to be right there at the very heart of what was going on. And actually it was quite, you know, in a non sort of soppy way, I thought it was quite touching that he chose to give them that ring.
Kate Middleton and Prince William married on the 29th of April 2011 at Westminster Abbey in London. The glittering occasion was witnessed and watched by billions of people around the world, a spectacular event that has rightfully earned its place in British history.
This is an absolutely extraordinary royal wedding, because for the first time in centuries, a future king is going to marry a woman who is neither a member of royalty, a foreign royal house, or British aristocracy. He's going to marry what is called a commoner in this country, an ordinary person. But I don't believe she is an ordinary person. She is probably a good example of one of the best things that the royal family has done for years.
I think we're going to see a lot of elements in this wedding that we haven't seen before in a royal wedding. It's going to be a lot younger, maybe a lot more current, but it's going to reflect both William and Kate's personalities.
Before the day of the wedding, there was much speculation as to who Kate Middleton would choose to design her dress. English designer Sarah Burton, creative director of the luxury fashion house Alexander McQueen, was selected by Kate, and the dress itself was a creation of extraordinary beauty and elegance.
Youthfully regal. It was modern with a classic twist to it, which was fantastic because I didn't want Kate to sort of lose touch of Kate in the whole pageantry of this occasion. And I think Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen did a sublime job.
Preparations were made in secret by committees of experts, all determined to make a perfect day for the young couple, as well as the British public. Millions of pounds were invested in every facet of the occasion, from security to catering.
So how did you feel when you got the call early in February? Did you think, oh, someone's having me on here?
I couldn't believe it. I was overjoyed, but I was working with half a dozen other people, and so after the call I had to carry on pretending that nothing had actually happened, and that was a little tricky. Right at the beginning we were given some mood boards which she had created, and we have been guided by her right at the beginning, and it's lovely that she, as a bride, has such a strong idea of what she would like, because that's not always the case. So the cake will be traditional, but with a modern twist.
The day of the wedding was a truly magnificent spectacle. Thousands flocked to London to soak in the atmosphere of excitement and genuine joy, and a real sense of pride and patriotism swept the nation.
What a fabulous day to be here in London. The entire world is watching. Something like 2 billion people watch this on television, on the internet, more than any other event, forget royal event, any event in history, tuned in to watch William and Kate get married today. It's a really exciting atmosphere here. I think people are very proud to be English. You're seeing a lot of nationalism, a lot of Union Jacks displayed everywhere, and of course the large contingent of Americans and people from all over the world who have come to celebrate this very, very special couple.
I have with me Paddy Harverson, who is Communications Secretary at Clarence House, who's the man absolutely at the centre of these last few months of preparations and planning. How are you feeling today? How's it all
Very
gone?
excited, yeah, and relaxed. I think the planning's gone well. We're all here, the crowds are here, the weather's holding on, so it's fantastic.
And tell me about the Prince. How's he doing this morning?
He's great. I mean, you know, he's had breakfast with his brother and their friends, and I was with him last night. We were in the press office at Clarence House, and he rang up, said, I want to go outside and meet the crowd. So we all piled out, and it was just fantastic, a lovely spontaneous thing. He wanted to go and say thank you to everyone for coming along and queuing up overnight. So he's in great form.
On the 3rd of December 2012, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting their first child. However, the announcement did not go according to plan.
Kate was forced to announce prior to being 12 weeks pregnant that she was in fact expecting because she was hospitalized for very, very severe morning sickness. She suffers for something called hyperemesis gravidarum, which is a very somewhat rare form of extreme morning sickness. This goes way beyond the typical nausea and discomfort that most women feel. This is very extreme, where the mother-to-be is unable to keep down any solids or even sometimes liquids. It can be quite serious both for mother and baby.
Obviously, there'd been an awful lot of anticipation as when Kate was going to announce that she was pregnant. I mean, in fact, I think the announcement was suggested for about 6 months beforehand. Everyone was writing in the papers that she was pregnant. The palace had put out the official announcement as she was en route to the hospital because she'd had problems with the pregnancy, and it was felt that William and Kate didn't want to even tell the Queen or Prince Charles that she was pregnant until they were absolutely certain everything was okay. So that's what happened. The actual announcement happened because she was feeling unwell and was taken to hospital.
William and Kate had talked at length about how they wanted to make this announcement to the world, and it certainly wasn't going to be this way and at that stage in the pregnancy. Most celebrities, particularly royals, wait until that first trimester is finished before they make any happy announcements.
The then Duchess was admitted to St Mary's Hospital in London in the early stages of labour on the morning of the 22nd of July 2013 and gave birth to a baby boy weighing 8 pounds and 6 ounces just after 4 that same day. Kensington Palace announced that the baby would be named George Alexander Louis.
Well, the birth of Prince George was really like a national celebration. It felt like a national holiday. There was excitement in the air all around the country. It very much reminded me of the feeling of the royal wedding day when William and Kate got married. Everyone was universally happy. Everyone was constantly checking the news feeds on their phone and on the television in order to see, waiting for William and Kate to come out from the hospital for the first time, holding the new baby prince.
Well, actually, I've covered the royal family for 25 years, and the excitement around the birth of Prince George has surpassed most of the things I'd covered, actually, even the royal weddings. And it was a huge bun fight, if you like, outside the Lindo wing of the St Mary's Hospital, Paddington. There were hundreds of journalists there, as well as camera crews and members of the public. The excitement began to gather when, of course, she was snuck in the back door and was actually inside the hospital.
I have several friends actually with news organizations who were standing outside the hospital that day, waiting hours after hour for William and Kate to come out. And actually, they came out quite a bit later than expected because typical William and Kate's strategy fashion, they were greeting and thanking every single member of staff at the hospital personally for the very smooth birth. They wanted to make sure they thanked everyone from the cleaner to the midwife to the surgeon to say thank you very much. So they did actually take a long time to emerge. When they did, Kate was roundly praised in the press for her choice of dress. You know, a lot of women when they first have a baby are very self-conscious about the fact that they oftentimes still look pregnant. They still have a very swollen stomach. Kate was not at all ashamed of this. In fact, wore a dress which highlighted the fact that she still had a very rounded tummy. And a lot of women praised her for this, said that it made a difference because it kind of just emphasized the fact that women don't need to be ashamed of their bodies when they've had a baby. And it was really a lovely thing that she did. She came out, she was absolutely beautiful and radiant. I'm sure she had some help with makeup and hair. In fact, we saw some of her stylists coming into the hospital before she emerged. So we know that she had a little help, but she did look fantastic, and they looked absolutely in love. As William and Kate were leaving their press call when they came out with the baby, he was seen to be very affectionate with her. He had his hand on the small of her back, and he called her Puppet. So we now know one of his sweet names of endearment for his lovely wife.
Very emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional. It's such a special time. I think any parent, I think, will probably sort of know what this feeling feels like. So
it's very special.
They're very much hands-on parents. I mean, William made it very clear when George was born that he wanted to be a hands-on parent. He took time off to spend with George and Kate. They didn't have a nanny straight away. They were very anti having an extended staff to look after their children, look after them. But I think as time has gone on, they've realised they do need that extra help. They can't just rely upon, say, Carol, Kate's mother, and other members of the family. They do need that because they're very much in the public eye.
Well, William and Kate, as parents, we know are very structured. From what we've heard coming out of the palace, Prince George is on a very strict schedule that never deviates. You know, he has his meals at a certain time, his tea, his goes to bed at a certain time, his naps. Everything is regimented. They have a nanny from Spain who is a very thorough and organized young woman, no nonsense, and that is how George is being raised.
William, in particular, wants to be a hands-on parent. Kate, too, doesn't really want to pass on the responsibility of motherhood either. But you know, when you're in the royal family, when you're in the public eye, it's very, very difficult to do everything. And I think that even Kate and William have found that, and so they are now realising that it's important to have the extra help that they require.
Kate and William are strict parents. You know, I read somewhere that they mostly bought him toys made of wood because that was traditional. I can't imagine anything worse. But again, they are following the royal customs and traditions. They are not overindulging or spoiling this little boy as much as they can. Having said that, they have an awful lot of help. In addition to their full-time nanny, they have other nannies who come in and help. They have a full staff of servants. Having said that, Kate has broken precedents in the sense that she does more for herself than anyone else in her position has ever done before. In fact, Kate and William's head housekeeper and head gardener both quit. They were a married couple. And it was very controversial because they had actually worked for the Queen previously and then come over to work for Prince William and Kate. There was a lot of speculation at the time that Carol Middleton had been interfering in the housekeeper's duties, that Kate Middleton was doing a lot for herself, and that didn't sit too well with the staff. You know, Kate's in a difficult position because she didn't grow up with household servants, and she likes to cook, for example. She likes to do things for William and very much likes the privacy that one gets without servants around. At the same time, William grew up with a retinue of servants and staff, and he has a certain lifestyle. So it's a balance, I think, of those two things, the privacy that they want and also Kate feeling like she's taking care of her own home. But at the same time, you know, there's public engagements, there's all kinds of things that require her attention, and they do need a lot of help.
In early 2014, it was confirmed that Prince William and Kate Middleton, along with Prince George, would be touring Australia and New Zealand.
The trip to Australia was truly amazing, actually, in terms of the response. I think that they certainly dubbed Prince George the Republican Slayer, because in terms of popularity of the monarchy, it soared. I was covering it for one of the leading networks in Australia, and they were doing hour-long specials live from the events, such as at Manly Beach, when they arrived there, when there were thousands and thousands of people just there to see them. The truth of it is, though, is that they were the star attraction and have been a star attraction for some time in Australia and New Zealand. People love the connection with the royal family in that part of the world, because they're not only celebrity, but there's a connection with them. They're technically one day going to be the King and Queen of Australia. So it was a huge event. And I went to a reception before that at Kensington Palace, where William and Kate came out, and they were introducing the media that were travelling to the little George, and he was in great form. And they were quite nervous, I think, Kate in particular, about the reception they were going to receive. How big would it be? And they knew it was going to be huge. But I don't think even when they got there, they expected it to be as huge as it was. They went to the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, which is a fabulous zoo. It overlooks the Sydney Harbour, and it was a brilliant engagement. They went there primarily as the main engagement for Prince George. He was going to be filmed and photographed in the Bilby area, which is a compound. A bilby's seemed to me a bit like a cross between a rabbit and a rat. It was just an Australian animal, and he was taken by that.
Invite you to unveil the flag. The Prince George Bilby exhibit. Now, we do have a small gift for Prince George to acknowledge his time here. This is a bilby, an Australian bilby with a Taronga Zoo bilby in Kate. Just as a reminder for when he's a bit older.
This is reminiscent of when William's mother, Diana, had in fact taken William on tour when he was a baby too. Their relationship has been played out so vividly in the public spotlight, and they've had to deal with the highs and lows of a relationship any couple must go through. but there is no doubting the sincerity and solidarity of their partnership in all its forms.
They are an incredibly down-to-earth couple. I remember meeting them together as a couple for the very first time on the day the palace announced that they were getting married. And a few journalists were invited to go to St James's Palace and have a cup of tea with them. Well, that's not an offer you get very often. So, of course, we jumped at the invite and took tea with them. And I think everyone was terribly nervous, not least William and Kate. I mean, it was the first time they had met the British media. You know, I'd seen them at nightclubs before. I'd spent my time, you know, watching them at polo matches and charting this amazing relationship. But the first time really to actually sit down and talk with them, I remember Kate being very nervous, but incredibly sweet and kind and interested in what we were doing and how we were covering the story. And they both just seemed so well matched. You could see it in their body chemistry even at that stage, and on a moment, you know, fraught with nerves. They were about to meet the world's press. All the paparazzi and the photographers, rather, were waiting next door to take their pictures. But even under that sort of pressure, they gravitated towards each other. I remember William having his hand in the small of Kate's back, you know, guiding her, making sure she was all right. And I think that's what you've seen over the years. You know, he has wanted to just make sure that she is comfortable, that she feels confident and happy in what she's doing. And as he said in that engagement interview, and I think it was such a poignant and important thing that he said, that he waited so long to propose, not because he wasn't sure, I think he probably had been sure for a long time, but it was so that he could give Kate the opportunity to see exactly what married life would be like and get out if it wasn't what she wanted. And, you know, when you see them together, you do see a couple genuinely in love. They're very happy together. They work well together. They're a team. And I think they are great assets for the British royal family and great assets for the country.
Well, it's quite a daunting prospect, but you know, hopefully I'll take it in my stride. You know, William's a great teacher, so hopefully he'll be able to help me along the way, and I really look forward to spending my time with William.
He's very good at flattery.
When William asked Kate to marry him, he made it very clear that she wouldn't have to leave her family behind her once she married into his family. He promised her that they'd always stay a part of the family, and they have done, whether it's joining the Queen at Ascot or being on an important barge within the Queen's fleet at the Diamond Jubilee celebrations, being the first visitors to go and see Prince George when he was born, even before the future King, Prince Charles. All of these things are very significant because they're William's way of saying, you are part of this family and we are going to include you.
It is no secret that William and Kate's desire for privacy is paramount. Normally, they would have taken residence at Kensington Palace in London, but the couple felt there would have been a significant lack of privacy had they taken residence at the palace. They would have been easily overlooked and right in the heart of the London buzz, with a much higher chance of the paparazzi being able to photograph them in their private moments. They very quickly accepted when Queen Elizabeth offered them residence at Anmer Hall, a fantastic Georgian house in the Norfolk countryside, close to Sandringham.
Neither William and Kate are city people. They love the countryside, they love the outdoors. So when the Queen decided to gift Anmer Hall, which is a beautiful property on the Sandringham estate, to William for his 30th birthday, they knew that it was the perfect getaway. It was going to be their country bolt hole, and they've spent the best part of 2 years and about £2 million, in fact, doing that property up and making it a retreat. It's a fortress. You can't get anywhere near the property. Security is paramount, and there's a huge amount of space. And most importantly, they are not spied on. They can get away there, and they love the countryside. They're happier there than they are here in London.
On the 8th of September 2014, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting the birth of their second child. But again, the announcement did not go to plan. As with her first pregnancy, Kate suffered from severe morning sickness, otherwise known as hyperemesis gravidarum, and she was forced to cancel a number of public engagements.
Again, it's not what William and Kate wanted. They very much wanted the pregnancy to kind of go a little bit farther along before they confirmed to the world. But again, their hand was forced because of Kate's morning sickness.
Congratulations. Congratulations. How's Catherine feeling?
She's feeling okay, thanks. It's been a tricky few days, week or so, but obviously we're immensely thrilled. It's great news. Early days, but I'm hoping things settle down and she feels a bit better. But it's important that we all focus on the big news and the big international and domestic things that are going on at the moment. So that's where my sort of thoughts are at the moment. I can go back and look after her now.
It's early days, but you must be very excited.
Thank you.
Some women get morning sickness not until 6 or 7 weeks in, but Kate seems to get it almost immediately and to a very great degree. So the fact that she was forced to start canceling appearances meant that the palace was forced to confirm the second baby was on the way.
While Kate was heavily pregnant, Prince William was sent on a diplomatic mission to China, where he met with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. Prince William was the most senior British royal to visit China since the Queen's tour of the country in 1986. Following the important royal visit, the relationship between the two countries is now focused more on business after a run of political differences over Hong Kong and Tibet.
It was seen as a very important diplomatic move for Prince William. The first time he'd really carried out such a tour on behalf of the British government. It wasn't on behalf of the Queen this time. And he did an amazing job at repairing, a problematic history between the British royal family and the Chinese.
Britain is some of the best universities in the world, and we are truly privileged to attract the best students in the world, including those from China. This is not a one-way traffic. The number of British students coming to China grows every year. These students, in years to come, will form a network to the benefit of both our countries, sharing their experiences and ideas, and cooperating in tackling the huge challenges that confront the next generation.
The trip was seen as a triumph. Prince William carried out his diplomatic duties and successfully eased the previously tense relationship between the British and the Chinese. Prince William's return from China heralded the imminent arrival of the new royal baby, and the world's media set up camp around Buckingham Palace and St Mary's Hospital as international interest grew. On the 2nd of May 2015, at 8:34 in the morning, the Duchess gave birth to a daughter who weighed 8 pounds and 3 ounces. The following evening, iconic London landmarks such as Tower Bridge, the London Eye, and the Trafalgar Square fountains were illuminated pink to mark the birth of the princess. Later that day, the palace announced she was to be named Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. The birth of the princess was cause for national celebration. A little sister for Prince George, the daughter Prince William had always wanted, and the granddaughter Prince Charles had always hoped for. Their third child, Prince Louis Arthur Charles, was born on the 23rd of April 2018. He remains fourth in the line of succession after his sister Princess Charlotte. All three of the children have picked up a number of hobbies and interests, making them all unique in their own different ways. George is said to be a huge football fan, just like his father, Prince William.
Prince George is very exuberant, especially when it comes to sports. He loves supporting Aston Villa with his dad, and actually any football tournament that you see him at, he's definitely there celebrating goals. So he's definitely very sporty, very exuberant, very lively. He can be a little bit cheeky as well. Apparently at school one day he said to some of the kids in his class, "My dad's going to be king one day, or I'm going to be king one day, so you should stop doing that." So he's lively, very sporty, a little bit cheeky.
Princess Charlotte is said to have earned the nickname the Warrior Princess, as she enjoys the outdoors life just as much as her parents and her siblings. Louis has picked up on a number of different interests too, with tractors and diggers being his favourite, while Charlotte is said to have picked up ballet and gymnastics.
Princess Charlotte made an appearance at Wimbledon with her mum and her dad and Prince George as well, and she looked super cute. She was wearing a blue and white floral dress from Friki, which is a Madrid-based Spanish brand. The dress cost £169. She paired it with a really cute blue ribbon and some white shoes, and of course that dress sold out in a flash. She was really enjoying the tennis though. She had on some really cute sunglasses as well, which I've been looking for a while, still haven't got them, but she seemed really into the tennis. But just like her mum, she is essential to the fashion industry, and that brand was certainly put on the map, and like I said, after she wore that dress, sold out. Prince Louis is definitely your typical, 5-6-year-old. He is very cheeky, really funny to see him at royal events actually. He was famous for putting his hands over his ears when the fly past went past and screaming. We've seen him making faces at his mom when he's been told to, behave and sit down. He's really funny, definitely very cheeky, very mischievous. Even though he's having all that royal training, he is, a young boy who has to sit still at long events, and he's done pretty well. But it's definitely so funny to see his take on a royal event, and the memes that have been made of him across social media are priceless.
Following the death of Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Charles has now become King Charles, and subsequently, his son, Prince William, is now first in line to the throne. As George is the eldest of his siblings and in line to the throne after his father, many wonder what preparation is made for him for when his time arrives.
Prince George was told probably when he was around 7 that he was the heir to the throne and that he was going to be king. And so he's been involved in a few royal events. He was part of the coronation ceremony and part of the coronation service. He served as a page, and he's been to a few events when it's just been him and his father and his mother. So he is definitely doing much more of royal events and royal tours. He's been singled out to spend time with his grandfather, King Charles III, who will also be talking to him and schooling him about what he's doing and what's coming up for him. So he's having that one-on-one time. He's more involved in royal life and these royal events, and that's perfect preparation. Remember, he's only just turned 10, so he's still very young. He's still all about the rugby and the football and playing with his siblings, but he is having these little, drip feeding this information to him as he's going along to prepare him for this life of service. When King William ascends to the throne, you will definitely see Prince George's preparation kick up a notch. Probably what's happening right now to Prince William. We don't know what age George will be. He certainly will be older than he is now, but he will definitely be being more prepared for that life of service. He probably would have spent time in the armed forces, so he will know the value of being commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He will have decided what his life's work is going to be, whatever charities he's going to focus on, and he will be probably learning in a very hands-on way, the way that Prince William is right now, the job of king, the job of being, this unelected head of state, commander-in-chief, and everything that means.
Since becoming the new Prince and Princess of Wales, the couple have brought about change like no other and have been part of many charitable endeavours. This is something that has always dwindled in the hearts of the two from a very young age.
So Kate's set out her stall that she wants to support, in the first instance, children. So she's supporting some hospice charities, each the East Anglia Children's Hospices. She's equally decided to be a volunteer scout, so supporting children out and about, enjoying country pursuits as she does.
And actually, she's been ahead of the curve on most of the choices that she's made. She's put children's hospices on the map, and she's also done a huge amount of good for mental health. It's another cause that she's very much behind. So she will know how important she is as a patron to those charities, to put them in that international spotlight, and she won't want to spend too long away from them.
She's also been involved in action on addiction, so she's saying that she wants to help people. She thinks that addiction is the root to quite a lot of society's ills, be it children or their parents, and so she wants to get involved in that. And also, because she studied history of art and is a keen artist and photographer, there's her patronage of the National Portrait Gallery and other artistic pursuits. And she's mixed them a little bit, so she also supports a cause called the Art Room, which helps children gives children therapy through the medium of art.
Hello, what's your name? Hello, very nice to meet you. These are your friends. And what have you made? This is a card. It's a very big card, isn't it? What's on the front? It's a flower. It's a flower. Wow. So pretty, isn't it? And are these all your fingers? These are your fingerprints?
Yeah. Prince William is involved with quite a few charities. One in particular, he's been involved in AIDS work and AIDS charities since he was very young. And of course, that came from a deep commitment that his mother, Diana, had to the cause. Prince William is also involved in several charities related to Africa. You know, Africa was very much a part of his experience between high school and university. And he went out there and had a gap year, as they call it, and really fell in love with the country. So he and Harry both actually have been involved in several charities in Africa as well. William is also involved very much so with a charity called Centrepoint, which is an organization that works to help the homeless. You know, Princess Diana originally kind of got both William and Harry interested in this subject by introducing them and taking them out to meet and talk to homeless people. She always wanted them to see there was another side to their very gilded life in the palace. And since her untimely death, William has continued to be active and involved in Centrepoint. He's even spent the night out on the streets. That's something that he's passionate about, that he cares about. I think it helps to give him some perspective in the midst of his very often glamorous life.
It's not just about palaces and privilege, it was about paupers and people that were in dire straits. And I think that's something that's been embedded in his mind ever since. He's somebody, I think, that cares deeply about issues, but the homeless is one that he's actively involved with. He's also very keen in trying to help young people that are on drugs and are trying to get through that problem. And he does lend a lot of support to that. And in fact, it's my understanding, he's not only doing stuff where he helps himself, he actually does put his money where his mouth is, and through his foundation, he has contributed quite a lot of money.
Princess Kate has made her way through the ranks of the royal family, quickly transforming from a commoner into the future Queen Consort of England. Since joining the royal family, Kate has solidified herself as an activist and a caring mother. She has her eye toward her destiny with William to become the leaders of the UK. In fact, Kate has already begun preparing for the time when the pair will ascend.
I think Kate and William have a good chance of making this work. They are both very committed to the monarchy and making kind of a united front, whatever personal problems they might have. Kate has proven herself to be a team player. She's proven herself to be discreet. She's also proven that she's willing to put her own interests behind the interests of her husband.
From university friends to becoming the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and later the Prince and Princess of Wales. William and Catherine's royal love story has garnered much international awe and adoration over the years. They have proven time and time again that they care about their people, care about each other, and have stood steadfast in their responsibilities.
When it comes to what kind of King Queen William and Kate will be, I think they'll definitely take from their predecessors, King Charles and Queen Camilla. They've been very hands-on parents, and I think they'll be very hands-on in their role as King Queen. I think they have a big job on their hands to modernise the monarchy, but I think they will certainly make that a priority.
William and Catherine, the future King and Queen.